Okay, so let's welcome in Nate Leffler with Nate's Bowhunting. And Nate, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. It's a snowy day here in southern Wisconsin and it's about 5 degrees with the wind chill, but I'm inside, so everything's good.
That's interesting because up here I'm looking out the studio window. We have nothing yet, but you're talking for 4 or 5 inches of snow. We've been pretty lucky this year up until I think the last 8 or 9 days. We've got a bunch of snow. Winters here. I don't think we're going to get off easy like we did last year. So hopefully the deer have been fed. And actually, I'm not sure. Have you been out shed hunting at all?
I'm waiting.
Mm-hmm.
I still got about ten cell cameras out there,
Sure.
and for the most part, they're all holding yet. I did
Mm-hmm.
have one 4.5-year-old 8 point that the neighbor wounded, and he dropped already, but I think
Okay.
that's just because he was wounded. So
Interesting. I
I
found.
yeah,
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I'm gonna hold off.
Okay.
Just I don't want to. The deer are still smashing some of my food plots, especially those turnips now. So
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't want to blow them out of there. I'm holding off.
Yeah, I went in the property that I shot that bigger one on, and there was a real. I
Yeah,
couldn't tell if he was two or three. He just for this particular area, he looked three to me, but then you look at some of the pictures, and he might be two. And he dropped his, what would it be? His right side. I grabbed his right side, so that might be a target for us for next year. But I've not really gone out and looked yet. I think the deer, your area down in southern Wisconsin, our area up here in the UP, it's a 9 day difference. The amount of food and stuff. I'm the same way. This time of year when it's cold like this, especially with more snow coming, I really don't go push around in the bedding areas usually till maybe April. So
sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
So anyhow, why don't you introduce yourself? Who you are, how you started hunting, and we'll kind of transition into your business, Nate's Bowhunting LLC, and your what all got you going, and what can you share with us?
sure. Yeah. So I live here in southern Wisconsin, and I've been hunting. When I was a kid, I had a cousin that took me out shotgun hunting, the old slug guns down here, and so I went out and my younger days and shot a few with the shotgun, and that was obviously exciting. That first deer you kill, it doesn't matter what weapon you're using. And so then I didn't really get serious into bow hunting until about 10 years ago. Um, and I hunt. They're actually were my grandfather's farms, so two family farms. I didn't purchase farms just strictly for hunting. Just hunting the old family farms here, and I really got into it. I'd say, yeah, about 8 years ago, I shot a real nice 8 point and started doing the food plots and everything. And it seems like every year I just get a lot more into it. So then I decided to start filming my hunts about 4 years ago, and somehow, as luck would have it, my biggest deer I've shot today. First year I started filming, I shoot my biggest deer, and so then I was like, gosh, I should really just start up a YouTube page or a Facebook page just to share my hunts with my boys, nothing else. Or when I get an old man I can't hunt anymore, just to look back at some of these hunts, some of these deer I've shot. And so I started up a YouTube, and then I'm doing habitat improvements, doing a lot of food plot stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm pop some of these on here. So started up my YouTube page and Facebook about 2 years ago, and it just took off. I think pretty relatable to a lot of guys because the two farms I hunt, a lot of ag by me. So the one farm's only about, well, it was 10 acres. I planted an extra 4 acres of Milo, which we'll hit on, I'm sure. But so that's about a 14-acre property. And then my home farm where I actually live on here only got about 5 acres of actual cover. Otherwise, it's all ag land that we lease out. So pretty relatable. I don't have a couple 100,000 acres out in Iowa, so I think um, I started having guys reach out for the consulting because they're saying, "Hey, this guy hunts smaller farms like me. He doesn't own the big farms, 10 different farms, and he's pretty successful taking down some big deer." So I had guys reach out for land consults, and that really took off this year, and I've been I was just out to Pennsylvania, and I'll be out in Minnesota here, not this weekend, but next weekend. I got 2 out in Minnesota. That's really taken off, and it's kind of one of those things. I'm not just come bow season, pick up the bow, ready to go. It's a year-round thing for me. I seem
Sure.
to get more addicted to bow hunting every year as we go here.
Yeah. I think, and I think we found you about a year ago, and I actually reached out to you, and I watched a lot of your videos, and I reached out to you, and I want people to understand this. We don't pay you a dime. I
Nope.
reached out to you because what I saw was somebody who was very passionate. Some people say you're over the top, but I'm like, no, I see passion because I've been I've been accused of the same thing, and I said don't mistake that for passion. Okay, and
Right.
what I saw was somebody, and again, you talked about your 2 farms, so your total hunting acreage between the two is less than 30 acres between 2 farms, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
actually less
yeah,
than 20.
okay.
It's 19 acres. Yep.
Okay, so what I saw was somebody very relatable to not only myself, because I mean, I might be hunting some 80-acre parcels here. We have 2 different parcels here in the UP. Both are 80 acres, but very small
Sure.
footprints that we hunt. But what I also saw was somebody that our customers can relate to, whether they agree with you or not. Okay,
Right.
that's somebody I thought was very honest, very straightforward. And those are the people I like to work with because when I said to you is, hey, Nate, I know you use this, and this. Okay. And I want you to plant
Yep.
our stuff that's exactly the same thing next to it. And I'd like your feedback, honest feedback. If you think they suck, I want you to tell me. Okay.
Right.
And if you
Yep.
think there's something that you would improve on, or you think we should try, or a different planting date, planting technique, those are the type of people I like to reach out for. Like I've talked to so many, when we do these videos or these podcasts, I tell people I don't like yes men working with me because to me, that's the fastest way to destroy a company and lose credibility. I don't have yes men. And what I saw with
Right.
you is, again, a passion for bow hunting. You reminded me of myself 15 years ago. Okay. And don't
Sure.
get me wrong, I
Yeah.
still love to hunt, but you reminded me of myself 15 years ago. You eat, breathe, sleep it. And so that's why we reached out to you. And I really appreciate the feedback and all the friendship. I value your opinion, whether I agree with it or not. So I think
Right.
that's
Right.
what I think you can help bring to not only today, I can't speak this morning, your YouTube channel. I think that's why you're growing is because people can sit back and say, look, this is not a bought and paid for pro staff or sponsored,
Right.
that's, I think those type of channels in the next 3 to 5 years are going to be the ones that grow. Okay. And all these guys that have these,
Yep.
hundreds of thousands of followers, they're bought and paid for to some extent.
Yep.
They're, same thing with podcasts. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. It was 20 minutes of sponsor this and sponsor that and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know how to put this politely. Shut up
Yeah.
and get to the point. Okay. I don't have all day. So,
Yep. Oh yeah.
yeah.
No,
So,
exactly. They go on and on,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's funny you say that, John, about the because I when I film these videos, I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
people that are paying. I
Yeah.
don't have anyone that's paying me as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've had a bunch of people reach out and stuff, but I like just doing my own thing. And I have people say, "Well, you're just recommending Milo or that because Northwoods Whitetails, the sponsor, paying you, and that's the only reason you're saying that." It's like, no, I go out and I say what works.
Yep.
I'm not getting paid $1 for this stuff. I'm just letting guys know how I am
Mm-hmm.
successful on these 2 small farms.
Well, and like I said, that's I think one of the things that attracted us to you to work with you is because of what appears to me is honesty, passion, and you're not going to be bought. And I think that there's going to be a value in that going forward because people's time is limited and what they
Right.
consume. You can only consume so many hours in a day. And what I try to do with the podcast and the YouTube channel, obviously, we want to have people understand about our products. But what we also try to do is bring education and something that people can listen today, the conversation you and I have, they can gain something for it, whether they agree with it or not. So that being
Right.
said,
Absolutely.
yeah, let's talk about So you're doing plans now. What do you find, Nate, that you're doing? Do you do, because you're in egg area, do you find you're doing a lot of egg plants? Now you'd mentioned you're going to Pennsylvania, Minnesota.
Yep.
Do you find that you're going
Yep.
to mostly egg like farm
No.
grounds, or are you doing a bunch of big woods? What is Nate looking at the
Yeah.
next month here?
Yeah. So definitely a mixture. It seems like a lot of the properties I'm doing here in Wisconsin, we obviously have a lot of ag in Wisconsin.
Yep.
The one in Iowa I did had a lot of ag, very similar. But the Michigan properties, especially Michigan, lots of big woods. I
Hmm.
mean, not nearly the ag that we have here. And then the Minnesota, the two I got next weekend, they sent me the screenshot of the parcel there, and it looks similar to Michigan almost. A lot of big woods there in Minnesota. So I'm doing a combination of both.
Okay.
It seems.
So you go to, let's say, a big woods versus egg. Okay. Does
Yep,
your does your strategies change? Do your food plot recommendations change?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So can you kind of why don't you give us, so let's say your typical big woods. We don't have any egg ground because that kind of describes my two parcels here. Maybe I'll learn something. What are you looking at?
Sure.
What kind of things are you looking at, like for food? We're not really going to get into
Yep.
the habitat part of it today. I think maybe later on, maybe June, July, we can have you back and we'll talk about your habitat strategies. But how do you
Okay.
attack a property with food? What are you recommending for big woods? What do you like?
Yep. So big woods, totally different. If we have a lot of eggs, I'm recommending Milo. I'm recommending corn if they have a drill or a planter. A lot of guys don't. That's why I prefer Milo over corn, and so do the clients. Big woods.
Oh, give me one
So
sec.
we're
You like Milo over corn in the egg areas if they don't have the equipment to properly plant corn. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's just so much easier to establish.
Okay.
And a lot of these guys don't have a planter. I mean, you can broadcast. I broadcast Milo and have great success. I've tried broadcasting corn because I don't have a planter or
Sure.
a drill
Hmm.
myself. And I've tried broadcasting the corn. Yeah, it comes up good, but it's so thick, the deer don't seem to bed in it as good
Okay.
as the Milo.
Okay.
Um, but so yeah, big woods totally different. No soybeans in the big woods. Where egg properties, I'll recommend some soybeans, corn, and Milo.
Hmm.
So usually big woods, we're talking your clover chicory is very popular, and obviously because it grows, it doesn't need full sun. So we gotta work around not having full sun in the woods. So
Hmm.
um, the chicory, clover, and then also the oats. Obviously, you know how much I
Yeah.
love my
Yeah. You
oats.
like your oats. Yep.
Yeah, and seems like every client that tries them, the deer just 9 times out of 10 just absolutely hammer those oats,
Hmm.
especially in the woods.
Sure.
So we're doing a lot of clover, chicory, and a lot of oats in the
Mm.
big woods.
Okay.
They can handle the browse pressure too. You
Yeah.
know, you put soybeans or corn in there, they're gonna demolish them, and you're not gonna
Yeah.
have anything.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later when we get into the Milo, but that's one of the reasons I do like Milo. I cannot, and again, I'll hit this point again at the end when we talk about Milo. I cannot grow beans and corn up here because they absolutely get destroyed. So we don't even
Yeah.
mess with that up here anymore. Yep.
Yeah, the
So
deer density in
yeah.
Michigan, like some of these properties I've been to, they're like, yeah, we'll see 50 does out in the field,
Okay.
100 does, and the deer density, yeah, they'll just demolish those.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes for rough food plotting, beans and corn if you got that many deer. Um, you've not been a big fan of brassicas, which, and again, value your opinion. Um, can you say or talk about why, and then have you messed do you try to get guys to do brassicas in the Northwoods? Because I'll be honest with you, here on one of the properties, I cannot grow brassica because of the soil, but the other
Sure.
property that we shot, actually, I think the brassica that we had planted was the main reason that big deer was on that property. So that's something I found works extremely well. But what can you talk about what you do or don't like about brassicas, or do you recommend them in the big woods versus egg areas?
Sure. Yeah. So, I had a real bad experience with planting radish
Yep.
2 years ago,
Sure.
and I went in there in November after I shot my buck, and I'm looking, and these radishes. I mean, I could smell them from 50 yards away. I'm like, what is that? Is it a dead deer in here? What is that smell? And the radishes are just rotting in the ground.
Yep.
And I had a camera on them, and I just I had oats planted there. The deer were in my oats every day, and they just did not touch these radish. Now, I'm not saying everywhere, because I know, there's some bigger names that use radish, and I know they will work if there's nothing else to eat. But
Sure.
on my particular farm with a lot of ag around, they did not care for the radish when they got soybeans, oats, clover, chicory. But what I will say is this year I planted some of your purple top turnips in with the oats.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a little combo there. So when the oats did freeze off come mid-November, end of November, actually this year is when they froze off.
Yep.
Then they would have some turnips in there. And I can tell you, I put a turnip video on my YouTube. They've been hitting those turnips basically end of November, and they're still hitting them now.
Okay.
So I do like the turnips for a late season. If you're after rut and little late season
Sure.
hunting, the turnips can be really good. So
I'll tell you what I found with the radishes. And we used to work with a partner who wanted 50% radishes on top of the 20% radishes in Nebraska blend. And I didn't agree with that. And here's why, especially if you're in the northern third of the country. And you absolutely just hit on the point. Okay. I think radishes have their place. Here in the big woods, to me, the best draw that I've seen I shouldn't say draw, they keep coming to the food plots. The most hit product in September and October is a radishes, oats, and peas combo. Okay.
sure.
But here's what happens with the radishes. Now, I think too many people are, and this is a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down right now, but too many people are, soil health, and they're planting more and more and more radishes. Yeah. Have you ever pulled a radish out of the ground like in September and broke it open? It's dripping wet. It's soaked. It is full of moisture. It's kind of like a watermelon, okay? So what happens the first time you get a hard freeze? That thing, a hard frost, it freezes, and then it thaws right away, and it's done. It's over with. It turns brown. It stinks. I've seen these things turn brown in early October here in Upper Michigan. So now
Sure.
imagine if you have 50 to 60, 100% of your food plot in radishes when you want to start hunting during the rut. Again, this might not pertain to Southern Illinois, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky. What I'm talking about is basically, mid-Iowa and north. Draw that line all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean, north of this line where you get a hard frost. And I've watched this every year, okay? They stink, and the deer won't touch them. And you hit that point. They won't touch them. They'll eat some of them, okay?
Right.
But now, like in our Sweet Feast blend, we've got 15 to 20% radishes because I want them to transition to the turnips and the forage brassica and the other two turnip varieties we have. But these people that are saying you want 50, 60, 80% radishes, well, you better hope you don't get a hard frost, because those things are going to be a deer repellent, not a deer magnet. And again, if I thought that was such a good idea, the radishes are the probably least expensive seed in our brassica blend. And if I thought that was such a good idea, we could put them in there. But it's not the best idea because they turn to mush. And that's why our population in our brassica blends are lower. But the other thing, I'm watching one of the big name hunting shows. Well, it was one of the jury videos of 10 years ago, and he's got a field full of these radishes, and it's in November. And the deer, there's radishes everywhere. And there's deer walking through there, and he's sniffing. He's not eating, he's just sniffing. And the radishes are rotted. So, you switch to a turnip, though. I think it's a night and day difference. But I think what happens, the attraction for me with the radishes up here is, I think it's based off of because there's not a lot of food. But now down by you, there's alfalfa. There's they could be some soybeans yet. Maybe they're going to start hitting the corn, and the radishes might not be as attractive down there. So I agree with you. I think I would back that rate way off, and maybe look at something else for December. Fully agree with you.
Yep. And some guys, a lot of the feedback I'm getting is they like the radishes for the green tops that they will they will eat the green tops. They say September, October,
Yep.
they'll hit those green tops really good.
Hmm.
And but then after that, like you say, you get that freeze in the North Midwest in general. You
Hmm.
never know when that freeze is coming.
For
I don't
sure.
want to roll the dice every year.
Yeah, like I said, we have radishes in there, and but it's a low population, and usually by the time we start getting frost, those radishes are all but gone. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, okay. So, how about now your egg areas? Um, you talked about your oats and turnips. What else do you recommend in the egg area?
So egg, I'll do Milo, which I'm sure we'll hit on later. And the reason I like the Milo is, well, I don't have a corn planter, first off. It's a lot cheaper than corn, second off. And they will bed in it. And I mean, it's bedding in browse.
Hmm.
And it's just like a well managed woods.
Right.
You know, everybody wants they do the hinge cutting, they do the TSI. Why do they do that? They want sunlight to hit the floor. They want native browse to come up. They want to give the deer, and the deer are obviously bedding in that wood. So Milo Field's the same way. It's great bedding and it's great food. And when you're in open egg country, similar to myself, a lot of Illinois properties, a lot of Iowa properties, you want as much bedding as you can. These little small patches of cover, similar to the farm I hunt, can be an overlooked magnet come big bucks during the rut. So if the more cover you can provide, in my opinion, on these egg properties, good bedding where the deer feel safe, security cover, the better your chances to take down big deer every year.
Sure. So you so let's say so you might be recommending Milo if they don't have a corn planter. I think we talked about it a little bit. So your
Correct.
recommendations for egg areas may be hinging on the equipment they have and
Yeah,
their ability to plant and manage those. Like instead of Milo, maybe do corn instead.
correct. Yep. And I also like I do like soybeans in big egg country. Like, and I've told you you pair the Milo with rutabagas. I pair
Hmm.
it with soybeans here, and they pair really well with soybeans. So I like the soybeans, and then like I said, the turnips oats combo
Hmm.
is a winner. Whether it's egg country or big woods,
Okay.
it seems to really take off.
Do you like do you like when you plant your soybeans, do you recommend like a forage bean, say like an eagle bean, or are you just going with egg beans for a bean production, or what are you looking at?
Yep. So I'll go with the Eagle beans. And that's one thing. Do you sell soybeans, John? I don't even know if you sell soybeans.
We've been asked for years to sell soybeans. We've looked into it. We actually did a couple of tests. I can't remember if I sent you a bag of soybeans for tests last year. We did a bunch of testing last year. And
Okay.
the reason I'm holding off on that one is we're busting at the seams here with product. We've got a couple of new products coming in this year. Um, but that whole Monsanto, those big, I don't even know who owns it now. Just dealing with those guys, I'm a little leery yet.
It's
So
like pounding your head against the wall, or
yeah, honestly, Nate, I think we could, and I think we could do a really good job because, like I said, we tested, we had like 5 guys test soybeans for us last year, and it was pretty positive feedback. But I don't know if I'm going to grab any more this year. Um,
uh,
yeah, so
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say. So what I've been using, because yeah, I didn't think you carried any
we don't. Yep.
soybeans. I just was curious if you had plans, but
No, yeah.
so I've tried the egg beans. I've tried the forage beans. Biggest difference, and the reason I'll plant the forage soybeans is obviously when those soybeans are coming up, deer will they'll just nip them and they'll kill the plant if it's an egg bean.
Okay.
Where forage bean can handle a little more browse and they'll
Sure.
keep growing. I mean, they can mow them down obviously, but in the forage beans tend to stay green a little later. Even if based on rain or when you got time to plant, you can plant those forage beans in June in here in Wisconsin, and they'll still be green right up to that first frost.
Sure. So
And
you're
and they get quite a bit taller as well, which
right.
I got cameras on my beans. The deer will be bedding in there in July, August,
Okay.
September,
Hey, all
right in the
right.
soybeans because they're yep.
So for everybody listening, he is not recommending planting beans for bedding. Okay, so let's not start that nonsense. I was listening to a
Soybeans
podcast
for
and now
bedding.
now Nate wants, he's bad enough with Milo for betting. Now it's soybeans for betting. No, we are not saying
Soybeans,
that.
soybeans for bedding. It's
Yeah.
better than
Oh
switchgrass.
my gosh. I no.
Oh
So
no.
well, I'm just somebody's gonna run with that. But so okay, so so you're
Uh,
talking about the tall forage bean. You're when you're recommending or you like to plant soybeans, you're looking for the green forage. You're not concerned about pod production? Or
No, I'm not.
okay.
And I do use the Eagle beans, the
Hmm.
Eagle Seed Midwest managers mix, I
Okay.
believe they call it.
All right.
And yep, I'm more concerned about having a little extra cover as well as
Hmm.
food.
Okay.
So
Cool. Okay. So a couple of things. When you go to properties, okay, and you've been doing this a while, what are
yep,
some mistakes that you see guys making? That's, like I said, I'm trying, we'd like to educate people. And,
sure,
you don't have a whole lot of videos out compared to a lot of these other guys. So when
yep.
Nate goes to a property, what are some things that like instant red flag? Hey, you really can't do this, or this is not going to work, or I mean, whether it's stand locations, habitat setup, food plots. What are you seeing that,
Yep.
in your opinion, are mistakes folks make that maybe we can help them change today?
Yep, absolutely. Well, I can tell you first off, 9 properties out of the 10 that I go to are bigger than mine
Mm-hmm.
and have a higher deer density than mine.
Okay.
And also, the majority of them have more mature bucks than mine.
Sure.
And it's one thing I've learned, it doesn't matter how good your property is, how big your property is. It obviously helps to have 100, 200 acres to hunt. You're going to have better chances.
Sure.
But you can have the best property on paper
Mm-hmm.
in the world, and you can not kill a mature buck for 3 straight years. How do I know this? Because these are the guys hiring me.
Mm-hmm.
They got 100 acres. They got 4 deer over 170 inches, and high deer density.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I haven't shot a deer. They're all nighttime. I haven't shot a deer in 3 years. That's why you're here.
Sure.
So I go out there, and I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's stand placement and food plot location.
Okay.
So the biggest problem with that, obviously, they're way too intrusive. They're going way back, or they're hunting right in the middle of their food plot, or right on top of their food plot, where the deer are seeing them. Some of these food plots, John, I see these guys. They got 4 acre brassica plot, just 4 acres worth, and it's
Right.
just right out of a magazine, not a weed in it,
Mm-hmm.
just perfect. They're like, I sprayed it twice, everything's perfect, and they can't kill a deer out of them. And the reason is where they're putting these plots, and then a lot of times they'll have a stand right over top of the plot.
Mm-hmm.
So the deer are seeing them get up and down every evening, and they're educating the deer, and those deer are going nocturnal on them almost immediately.
Sure. So that
So yeah, stand
access.
stand placement is, yep, access, stand placement, and food plot location. If your food plots are not a security food plot, I call them. I just call them a security food plot. If you're
Mm-hmm.
over hunting them, pressuring them, that food plot literally, okay, you're feeding the deer,
Mm-hmm.
but that's all you're going to get out of it. You're not going to shoot deer. You're going to feed them. The deer have to feel safe in daytime in your food plot, or it doesn't do you any good. You might as well not even plant them.
Correct. Yeah. We've gone above and beyond on these properties that we hunt to hide the food plots and not
Sure.
pressure them. Like we've got a couple of cell cameras on some of our food plots, like on a mock scrape on a pinch point or something like that. I won't even go in if the wind's wrong. Because I've gotten away from the cell cameras. That's a whole nother podcast and discussion. But anyway, uh,
Yeah.
I've gone back to the Browning dark ops and the those cameras, but
Sure.
but
Yeah. I run
go,
Brownings. Yeah.
going back to the discussion, I'll go as far as if the wind is even closely hitting their bedding areas, I'm not going in there to check the cell cameras, or I'm sorry, to check
Right.
the pull the cards. So I think that is, you're the third partner we've talked to now on this
Okay.
partner series, and the other two,
Sure.
Jake and Sam, both said the same thing. The mistakes they see, intrusion, access. Um, just letting deer know you're there, you're hunting them. And I think
Yep.
I think that's going to be a reoccurring theme. So what else do you see, Nate?
Yeah.
So stand placement's wrong, food plot location's wrong, access is wrong. Is there any other things you can see that people are
Um,
making mistakes that maybe they really need to fix?
yeah. Yeah. Biggest other thing is a wide open woods.
Uh huh.
I'll go to these woods in November, December, and I can see 50, 100 yards right through the woods.
Sure.
And so this woods will be over top of their food plot
Yeah.
where their stand is. And I say, so those deer are bedded up on the ridge up there.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you go to this stand, those deer, those bucks are watching you get to their stand, and they're going, well, we're not eating at that food plot during, it sure looks good, some yummy brassicas down there, but
Yeah.
we're sure as heck ain't gonna hit it at daytime.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the wide open woods is a big thing. And then I've also heard some stories where, if you get multiple people hunting the property and they're not working together, they're all
Yeah.
in it for themselves.
Sure.
They're gonna ruin it for the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a real tough situation, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
When I first started down this road, where I reached out, I think it was like 2009 or 10. I really started, deer habitat, deer, the food plots, and in this access thing, hiding your
sure.
stands, and I've hunted Wisconsin for a long time, but now I'm here in Michigan, and it's probably the same thing. And I'm sure you see it on your visits. This is my stand. I'm hunting here, every day of the deer season. Bob stands over here and Mike stands over here. And when I started telling some people, even to this day, I don't do what you do. I mean, I'll help some friends and people I know, make recommendations, but I'm like,
Sure.
I've got 5 stands on an 80, and I might sit the one stand once the whole season, but you got to put wind
Yep.
direction. Where do I think they're bedding? What food plot do I think they're going to tonight? And you try to explain that to people, and they're like, "No, this
Yep.
is my stand." And so like two guys might be on board with your plan, but if one or two other ones aren't, it's all for nothing, because if you're still doing a deer drive or bumping deer off food plots and stuff, it's still going to affect the whole property. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yep. And the other thing I forgot to hit on, which is another mistake, is shooting does before you shoot your buck.
Okay.
And these guys watch juries. We're having a doe day. We're taking out 10 does. We're taking out 20 does.
Sure.
Well, that's fine. That's fine and dandy if
In
you got a
Iowa.
couple hundred acres. Yep,
Yeah, we're
in
in Iowa.
Iowa.
Okay. And again,
Yeah, you're Iowa.
nothing against folks in
Yep.
Iowa. This is where we hunt and where Nate hunts. This is a completely different world. So, but anyway, I go ahead on
Yep.
those doe days. Yep.
Yeah, if you got hundreds of acres to hunt in 10 different farms, kill all the does you want because you can jump to the next farm and shoot a buck the next day.
Sure. Sure.
But if you got 10, 15, 20, 50, 80 acres
Mm-hmm.
and you're shooting does, that is my secret buck bait
Mm-hmm.
every single season. And I don't know how many world class deer, these record deer, how are guys killing them? The only time that big buck will slip up is when he's on a doe.
Yeah,
So that one doe that you take out, if you're hunting just 40 acres or something, that one doe you take out, you could be blowing your chance at that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're after a 3-year-old buck or a 6.5-year-old buck, whatever you're after, you can just totally ruin your chances by taking these does out.
Okay. Yeah, I think this year we took 2 bucks and 2 does between the two properties, and the 2 does were the last 2 deer shot. I think our muzzleloader season ended, like, I'm guessing, like, I don't say the 12th of December. I think we shot one the 11th and one the 9th or something like that. Something like that. But yeah, they were the
Sure.
last 2 deer we shot. But yeah,
Yep. And you got a high deer density too there, John. Like
uh,
if you,
one
I'm not sure
property,
what you
yeah,
have, but
one property does, and one property seems to have tapered off to where the ratio seems to be a little bit better. But yeah, I think the night my dad shot his doe, I think he saw he sat down, loaded his muzzleloader, and within 30 seconds the gun went off. And then continued to sit.
yeah.
He sat that night, and I think he saw 16 does on the food plots and
Oh, geez.
3 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, we took care of a few there. But
Yeah.
anyway, back to your point on the does. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a whole lot of And there's a lot of discussion and theories on that. And I think there's some valid points that you make, especially with very small properties. I know some guys
Right.
might even go like the first week of September and try to get a couple of or the first 5 days or so, like you guys in Wisconsin open up around I'm just going to get, it's like the second weekend in September every year. Let's just say the 15th. Now we
Correct. Yeah.
open, yeah,
Yep.
we open here in Michigan. We open the first, and my typical strategy, and again, it's everybody's got their strategy. My favorite is I like to sit the first couple of days on cold fronts in October, and just I love to watch deer. I love to watch deer in our food plots. It's not a very
Yep.
successful tactic. I think, I was talking to Jake about this. I said I think in the 10 days I've done this, or the 10 years I've done this, I've shot one buck October 1st. And
Sure. Yep.
so I'm looking for a cold front. I'm not looking at shooting does. I won't shoot does until, and this is again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. For me, my
Mm.
hunting purposes, my strategies on our two properties, we're not shooting does until the last few days of muzzleloader season. That's just my
Yep.
opinion. I'm not saying I'm a habitat manager. I'm not a land manager. I'm a owner of a food plot seed company, but that is what I think for me personally on my ground. That's what works for us.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying you
Hmm.
can't kill those.
Sure.
I'm just saying on a small
Yep.
parcel, I would wait till after you shoot your buck
For sure.
if you do want to take a doe.
Yeah.
And if you don't see many does, like if you're only seeing 4 or 5 does in a field tops,
Hmm.
I would be real skeptical about taking any does out. But if you're
Yeah.
seeing 10, 20, 30 does,
Hmm.
by all means, you want some meat, kill some does.
Sure. But you're just saying in your experience, you're kind of no, what's the word I'm looking for? You're kind of dictating that towards the end of the year when you think your best chances of bucks have come and gone.
Correct.
That's when
Yeah.
you want the doe shot. Okay.
Yep. Yep. After I'm tagged out of my buck, like I
Sure.
let my two boys rifle season each shot a doe,
Okay.
and I was tagged out. My
Hmm.
oldest son was tagged
Sure.
out, so
Yeah.
we took out 2 does.
Yeah. I think on that strategy on certain properties, I think that makes complete sense. So,
Yeah.
all right. This is the one I think a lot of people, Milo. Now you,
Milo.
I
I started something here. Yeah.
well, I that it's kind of funny how we had our Milo video out introducing our product, and I had absolutely no idea
Yep.
you were doing this. Okay, and for people who don't know what we're talking about, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, if you go to what's your YouTube channel, Trophy Hunting with Nate's
uh,
Bowhunting?
yeah. Chasing bucks with Nate's Bowhunting.
Okay. If you go watch that about 2 weeks ago, you had a video that said something about Milo being better than switchgrass. And I kind of giggled at I kind not, I'm
Sure.
like, I kind of laughed. I got a laugh out of it because we sell switchgrass. And
Yep.
how do I put this politely? I saw people absolutely lose their mind. And
Sure.
the, the, uh, the response from some people, it was, I think that's what's wrong with this world right now. People can't sit
Right.
back and look at this objectively. Okay. And I knew, again, you're one of our partners and you gave your opinion about switchgrass and how you don't like it because this is what you've seen your experiences. Now,
Yep.
I did not pick up the phone and say, "What the F are you doing? You're costing the seed sales." I didn't do that. Okay. And nor will I. Okay.
Right.
But I said, "Okay, you've piqued my interest. I'm going to watch this." And I think you make some valid points. I think you make some points that, I don't travel the Midwest looking at properties, so I don't really have an opinion on, I just know what I see here on the grounds I manage and the grounds I work on. But I saw one guy who doesn't even deer hunt, who doesn't even do what you do,
Yeah.
absolutely threw you under the bus. You're a seed salesman. Just stop. Okay. So
Yeah.
that being said, Nate, the platform's yours, and why don't
Yeah.
you explain your thoughts and strategies with Milo and your experiences with switchgrass and why you didn't like it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I never thought the video would get the buzz it did.
Oh my God.
And I did have, you didn't reach out and scream at me for your
Nope.
switchgrass sales, but I had some bigger names. Well, they didn't directly reach out, but
Sure.
got a lot of guys talking about the video, needless to say. And
Mm-hmm.
some agreed, some said, oh, the guy made some good points. And others obviously didn't agree because they're making a good coin off switchgrass. So I get it. And I'm not selling either of the seeds. So I'm gonna say what works.
Hold on.
And my experience is,
$28 a
yep.
pound for switchgrass will have that effect on an individual. So continue.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good
Yep.
chunk of change there.
That it is.
But absolutely. So I've been on probably 20 different properties this year consulting already, and I say in my video, I have never planted switchgrass. And why haven't I planted switchgrass? A, I got neighbors that have tried it and failed.
Mm-hmm.
B, I've been to 20 different properties this year, and out of the 20, there's probably honestly about 5 that made it actual good bedding for deer.
Sure.
The other 15 out of that 20, either planted it way too thick, and it's a screening, and it is a good screening. And I say that in the video. If you're looking for a great screening, you don't have to plant it every year. It can be utilized as a good screening. I won't argue that fact.
Sure.
But as far as bedding, you got to seed it just right. You don't want it too thick. And then some guys will say, "Well, I don't plant it too thick, so I get native plants in there, so it's bedding and food."
Right.
And well, hello, well, what is Milo? It's bedding and food,
Yeah.
and it's guaranteed. Even if you spread it too heavy or too thin, it's bedding and food.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so just seeing all the failures, a lot of guys either don't cut it the first couple of years, they don't put enough simazine down, and then in the winter like this, I look at these switchgrass fields and it's a flat field. It lays down,
Mm-hmm.
and my Milo, as you'll see in my video, I was just out there 2 weeks ago. It's still standing strong. I still
Sure.
got bucks and does in it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm making, obviously, if you got switchgrass established and you went through the time and you got it up, I'm not saying to burn the stuff down and plant Milo. If it's providing a good screen for you, you put the work in, and if you plant it right, the deer are bedding in it. More power to you. If you're harvesting a buck you're happy with, whether it's a 100-inch buck or a 200-inch buck, if you're doing that on a consistent basis every year, keep your switchgrass. But if you're struggling to take down big deer every year, I would strongly suggest planting Milo over switchgrass.
Okay. So I'll give you our experience. I don't plant a lot of switchgrass. I've got it planted because we sell it. And
Yep.
this is and again, I like to talk to guys like you. And I don't think this is your full-time job, but some people I talk to, this is their full-time job, doing land habitat. Okay. And
Right.
we're all in agreement that there's every couple years, and I don't even know if this is an industry, but this field that you work and I work in, the whitetail habitat field. Okay, I'm in the food part of it. Every couple
Yep.
years there's a buzzword. I mean, it's a shiny new object and everybody wants to flock to that. Companies want to cash in on it. And I saw it with years ago. I saw guys selling dirt in a bag that you dump in a scrape. And then, now they're selling and I'm not saying it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I see guys, it does not work by me. I've tried it. They sell you rope instead of a vine. I'm not saying it works. I'm just saying everybody's starting to sell rope now. And then hinge cutting was a big thing. And buck beds, how to create a buck bed, the 25 steps to create the best buck bed. That was a buzzword for 3 years. Right now, and it started about 2 or 3 years ago, switchgrass, all of a sudden, pardon the pun, caught fire. Okay.
Right.
And I
Yep.
think what I tell people is this, and we sell switchgrass. I think switchgrass is a tool in the toolbox. But there's a lot of
Sure.
people out there that are trying to sell you the whole damn toolbox full of the same tool. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. Because I see all these companies there, this switchgrass that we sell from Canada. 4 years ago, there
Right.
was 2 of us. Now there's, I don't know, 15 of us, and the market's flooded
Wow.
with switchgrass, okay? Because everybody
Yep.
wants to sell switchgrass. And I can promise you, as you and I are having this conversation on, I don't know, what is it, February 10th? 2 years
12,
from now,
12.
every seed company out there is going to be selling Milo because that's going to be
Right.
the new shiny thing. So I think
Sure.
what happened with switchgrass is people came in, they saw a fast dollar. I mean, we just talked about $28 a pound. I'm not saying it's
Right.
right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's a fact. Okay. My point is this: it's a tool in the toolbox when used correctly. In my opinion, when used correctly, it's a valuable tool. But I think right now,
Sure.
everybody's trying to cash in on YouTube videos. Everybody's trying to cash in on selling switchgrass seed. And now it's I don't know, how do I say this? It's flooded. It's flooded. It's an overload. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not, I looked at your Milo video. I mean, I saw where you have that planted. That's an interesting theory. And here's my first thing. Well, if you've got Milo working there, okay, you know it works. You know that strategy, not so much just Milo, but the strategy of putting that, what was it? It's got to be like, what, 40 to 50 yards wide, maybe 200 or 300 yards long. That section,
That's pretty accurate. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So could you take that out of Milo and then put it in switchgrass with forbs and brush and trees in there, and then never have to plant it again? Is that an option you're looking at, or you just like the Milo because the quickness of planting? What would keep you from putting that strip in? And I'm going to try to, if you can send me a picture, Nate, I'm going to put that picture up right now. Okay. And we're going to circle that. What would keep you from taking that out of Milo every year and putting it in switchgrass and browse and stuff like that?
Right. Well, I'm always in there planting food plots anyhow, so I got to go in there and plant.
Yep.
So to me, I look at it, hey, this is another 2 acre. Well, actually, I do 4 acres of Milo.
Yep.
So to me, this is another 4 acres of food, security cover, and bedding, all in one.
Sure.
So it's an immediate result. Obviously, time's limited for everyone, and yes, after 2-3 years, 3 years mainly, you can have a good switchgrass stand. It takes 3 years. Right. So to be honest, I don't want to wait those 3 years.
Okay.
And I also plant a lot of trees in there, John. I'm planting Norway spruce. I'm planting dogwood. I'm planting willows. So if I got all these nice shrubs and trees coming up, well, when it comes time to burn that switchgrass, I'm in trouble.
Okay.
So to me, it's, if I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, bedding and food, I'm going to do it. It's just like, all the big guys using corn. It's the same thing, but it's easier, it's cheaper, and it's the exact same thing.
I did find that funny. And again, I think I was traveling to a basketball game, and we were talking, and there was an individual that was, Nate doesn't know what he's talking about. He's, blah, 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 blah. And I laughed and I said, keep in mind that this guy's the same guy who's recommending planting corn. And right. If you look at what corn is, it is a grain product. Okay. If you look at what Milo is, it's a grain product. So I'm like, what in the hell is the difference between planting a field of corn and planting a field of Milo? There's absolutely zero difference. The problem is,
well, then the other, right?
Go ahead.
I was going to say the other big argument is then guys to try to justify selling their overpriced switchgrass, they would say, well, you don't want your bedding and your food in the same location. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. What is corn? It's bedding and food in the same location.
Correct.
What is a well-managed woods that everyone's doing TSI, hinge cut?
Yep.
It's bedding and food in the same location.
Yeah, hinge cutting, early successional growth, woody browse. We've got the Forbes and Forage product because it puts food in the bedding area. Okay.
Yep. What is dogwood and willows?
Red osier dogwood.
It's food and browse. Yeah, and it's so it's just a poor argument, really.
Yeah, and that's the problem I had. Not that they were the Milo and the corn is not the argument. The argument is you're saying that's the biggest bunch of BS putting food in your bedding area, but yet you're promoting food in the bedding area with corn, with hinge cuts, with TSI, with red osier dogwood. And see, that's the problem I have.
Yep, and it's because I went against the grain. I didn't hop on the
Exactly.
switchgrass wagon like everyone
Absolutely.
else.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing this guy use it. I'm seeing this guy, so I got to use switchgrass.
Yeah.
I,
And
I I tried something different, and it's
sure.
been very successful
Yeah.
for me.
And again, I'm not, again, I sell switchgrass. I'm not saying it's bad. Okay. And
Right.
I don't know. I've got a triangle piece that looks like it's going to be about an acre and a third that I'm going to go put this Milo in. I'm interested. Maybe this will work in Big Woods, Upper Michigan. Maybe it's a complete failure. I have no idea, but I've got the room to try it. And I'm going to try it. But I guess, like I said, the problem or what I want to point out is this, and I've talked about this before. You have to be very careful who and what you're listening to. Okay. And I think people that are trying to learn need to have that open mind. This might not work on 50% of the 100 properties you visit, but you know what? On 50% of the 100 properties you visit, it might work. And it's just something that no one's ever talked about before. And all of a sudden you rock the boat and people lost their mind. And I thought it was quite comical. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like I said when I put the video out, I didn't think people would take it so personal, but I guess when it's affecting their
Yeah.
pocketbooks, I guess they do take it personal.
Yeah. Did it affect our pocketbook? We might have lost some sales, but you know what? I have an open enough mind to where I think it might be another strategy, down the road people need to look at. And that's just my point of view. So, but
Sure.
anyway, so I think we've got that covered. Or is there anything else you want to talk about Milo
Well, I was going to say
yeah,
the one thing, and we'll talk another time about
yep,
this
for
too,
sure.
obviously, John. But so I was super happy with your red Milo product
Hmm.
because, well, the red works better than white. I've tried both. By me,
Yeah, we've heard that. Yep.
they'll eat the red over the white any day of the week.
Hmm.
But yours gets 4 to 5 feet, which is great because you need it tall enough for bedding. You don't
Sure.
want that 2 to 3 foot Milo. I've tried that.
Hmm.
They won't bed in it. But that Northwood HD screening. So I planted your Milo, then I tried some other Milo that had some taller stalks mixed in with that 4 to 5 foot red.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see. If it's something you could do, I would. If you could mix some of that Northwoods HD screening in with your red Milo mix,
Hmm.
and it'll just break up those larger plots a little more. I
Sure.
know we kind of talked about that, but
Hmm.
I think that would really create a lot more bedding in those Milo plots as well
Hmm.
if it gets broke up a little with some of those taller stalks.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna mess around with that a little bit, but yeah, as far as the HD screen, we can look out in our backyard, and I think about 70% of it's still standing. We got another company's right next to it, and it's flat on the ground. Heck, it was flat on the ground. I think Halloween. Um,
Yep.
yeah, it makes good rabbit habitat, but I'm not hunting rabbits. I'm hunting whitetails. Um,
Right.
and I don't care what anyone's trying to sell. I've not found anything that's even close to the strength and the standability when planted correctly. Let me add that in. When planted correctly, I've not found anything that's even close to the strength of this HD screen.
Nope, nope. And speaking of your HD screen, a lot of these properties, I'm having guys plant Norway spruce for a
Hmm.
long-term
Sure.
screen,
Yeah, you
but
can't beat a tree.
let's face you're right, but let's face it, before you get screen, if plant at waist height, you're waiting 5 to 10 years
Yeah,
for that to be a screen.
sure.
So in the meantime, I'm having them plant your HD screening
Hmm.
next to, as long as they don't block them out with the sun, obviously,
Yeah.
I'll have them plant them on the south side to
Hmm.
get sunlight to those trees. But that HD screening, that is like it's just like the Milo. It's a first year results. That stuff gets 12 to 14 foot high, at least by me where I plant it,
Sure.
and I use it on my properties as well to screen off the neighbor
Hmm.
houses and the road. I use it as well, but a lot of these guys have been super happy with it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
their properties for day one, first year results.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're starting to see it break down here. What is it like? Again, I can't remember the date. Was it the 12th? And
Yep.
at this point in time, I don't care. I mean, the deer have now, we don't have a lot of deer in our food plot in the backyard. We got a couple, 6 or 7 that straggle through every couple of days, but they've pretty much moved to where there's 40 acres, 80 acres away from us where there's really heavy cedar swamps and a lot more woody browse. And that's kind of where they're at now. So if my screen breaks down now, honestly, I don't care. But I do like to see the standability. I have no problem going in April and mowing it down and it's still standing. I'm pretty proud of that. But cool. All right.
Yeah.
So where can we where can we find Nate? How do we get a hold of you? How about like your YouTube channel, your Facebook page, information like that? If someone's interested in whether watching your videos, um, looking at your Facebook page, social media account, things like that, and then
Sure.
how do we get a hold of you?
Yeah, yeah. All you do is type in Nate's Bowhunting on YouTube or Facebook, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll pop up there, and I have a link in every one of my videos that takes if you're looking for consulting, takes you right to my consulting page.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually started just doing the virtual consults this year. I've done 4 of them already,
Okay.
and that's really nice for the guys that live out in New York or Pennsylvania. And
Sure.
you can sit down with me for 2 hours, and we'll go over your property. You can ask me all the questions you want. We
Mm-hmm.
share a screen
Sure.
and drop, food plot location, etc.
Okay.
So you can go to the website, and it's got a link to my email.
And
Nate's Bowhunting.
what's the website? Nate.
Nate's Bowhunting. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
All
I
right.
can
And then
send you that link. But
yeah, the same thing. YouTube channel, Facebook page is all the same thing. Nate's Bowhunting.
no, Nate's Bowhunting. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. How busy are you this spring? Are you pretty busy? And is there a time where you don't do any more land consults? Do you have to concentrate on your own stuff?
Yeah, yep. I'm doing land consults right up through April.
Okay.
I have a few weekdays and weekends available yet. Not
Sure.
many, but a few. But then starting in May is where I cut off on the on-site, but I'll still do the virtuals in the summer.
Oh, all right. That sounds interesting. So if you're looking for Nate, look at Nate's Bowhunting. And hey, I want to say thank you for coming on. I thought it'd be good to give you a chance to explain that whole Milo video. I think a lot of people. I think you explained some more stuff on here that maybe could have been
Sure.
explained on the video that whatever, but it just I thought that it was rather interesting how some people just lost their mind on it and didn't give you a chance to explain yourself, but hopefully maybe you gave your point of view today. I know I understand your point of view. We're still going to sell switchgrass. So
Sure. Yeah, I don't blame you.
yeah. So, all right. Hey, bud, I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll have you on maybe smack dab in the middle of habitat season in June or July, see what your strategies are for the fall down in Wisconsin.
Absolutely, John.
All right.
I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Nate. Have a great day.
Thanks. You as well.
Okay.